What's going on, people? Back again with another Showdown replay, and this is actually with a game that I had earlier today. Now, I apologize that I was gone for last weekend, but as I explained in my last video, I was actually on a cruise. I had a lot of fun, actually. Went around the Atlantic Ocean between Haiti, Jamaica, Grand Cayman, and Mexico. It was a lot of fun and a much needed vacation. But back again today with another OU battle. This was actually, this was a game. I was testing out this team that I had built yesterday around CM Thunderwave Clefable, and it actually turned out to be a really good game. So just a quick run through my team. I said CM Thunderwave Clefable, Assault Vest Tornadus, Standard Lopunny, Combine Manaphy, Defensive Chomp, and Scarf Jirachi. So looking at my opponent's team, I had a feeling he was probably going to lead off with Diancie, because when you look at my leads, you can kind of tell a couple of things. If I led off with Jirachi and my opponent was Protect Diancie, not only would he be able to protect with the Diancie and get off the Mega Evolution to deter hazards, but it would also allow him to scout out what Jirachi's potential choice move was and be able to act accordingly, considering he has a Ferrothorn and a Magnezone and even a Mandibuzz if it came down to it. So Jirachi really wasn't doing all that much, and it was a pretty good counter lead with Diancie. But between that, being able to protect on a possible high jump kick from Lopunny, but case in point, I was predicting the hell out of that Diancie, so I ended up leading with my Manaphy, as unfortunately my opponent ends up leading off with Magnezone, which is probably one of the worst things that could have possibly happened. Now, at this point, Volt Switch, here's the thing, Volt Switch is a very, very obvious move, potentially Thunderbolt too, but I was thinking Volt Switch was a very obvious move at this point, and I have a Garchomp, so so it was a 50-50 between Volt Switch and Flash Cannon. I'm just going to go into my Jirachi as a middle ground because I know it won't get knocked out by either, as I get crit with the Volt Switch. My opponent's going to be able to bring in the Dragonite, and I'm actually going to go for the U-turn because I was expecting not Extreme Speed to come out. That's like the best way I can think to put it. It's just I was expecting anything but Extreme Speed there. More, as I said, considering my opponent's stayed in, I'm going to go into my Clefable expecting the Dragon Claw, predicting my opponent to predict my Garchomp there, or possibly go for the Dragon Dance, and I'm going to go into my Clefable on a Choice Banded Earthquake. Now, my opponent has been able to capitalize from this position, and Earthquake again is a pretty risk-free move from my opponent. So I'm just gonna hard switch on my Tornadus. I'm behind. I gotta start making plays. Now I know at this point Mandibuzz is. I had a feeling probably Ferrothorn was coming out, so I went for the Heat Wave. I said either Ferrothorn or possibly Magnezone. Probably less Magnezone, but Mandibuzz definitely acted as a good middle ground. And now that my opponent has Heat Wave, my opponent is definitely going to be acting in a much different fashion. Like, Magnezone will not be ever staying against Tornadus, considering they either run Heat Wave or Focus Blast for the last spot. Like I said, I elected for Heat Wave because of Sizzler and Ferrothorn. They can be a little annoying for my team. But Mandibuzz comes out, and at this point, I'm just going to go for the U-turn because I really don't want to lose my Assault Vest. I do need it, as Manaphy is my choice to go into, because at this point, I'm going to be able to fire up a Scald. I want to try to burn something on the team, whether it be the Ferrothorn or the Mandibuzz. I'm not going to be able to score a burn, and my opponent's going to be able to get free rocks on my switch to Tornadus. Now, at this point, I know my opponent is definitely going to switch out, so I was hoping to either catch the Tyranitar or possibly the Dragonite and go for the knockoff, as I do get the play correct. Tyranitar is going to come out because it did see Heat Wave, and so, again, expecting not Focus Blast or Superpower. Now, I don't have either one of the fighting moves. I am just standard Hurricane, Heat Wave, knockoff, and U-turn, but I am able to knock off the Assault Vest, which is really nice, because at this point I know he's not some kind of Choppletar or like Focus Sash, Lumberry, anything along those lines. The fact that he was Assault Vest was pretty nice for me. But I'm going to just go for the U-turn. Even if he pursues me, it's not really a big deal, and I'm going to go onto my Garchomp. as my opponent misses Stone Edge. Now, at first, I really didn't think this was a big deal. If he had hit the Stone Edge, it would have changed the play, because I had a feeling considering he was Assault Vest, he more than likely did have the Ice Beam, but I am the standard Tank Chomp set, which I know I can definitely live the Ice Beam, and Stealth Rocks are very important against my opponent's team, so I'm willing to make the trade though. But if he hit the Stone Edge, Ice Beam would have knocked me out. But I know I can live, but at this point, I'm pretty sure he's probably going to switch out more or less into the Mandibuzz, because Mandibuzz is a very safe switch, and by getting up my Stealth Rocks, if my opponent wanted to get rid of the Stealth Rocks, he would get rid of his own Stealth Rocks, and that was what I was hoping would happen. But I go for the Stealth Rocks, my opponent does go straight for the Ice Beam, and like I said, my Guard Jump does live. If the Stone Edge had connected, there's a chance it might have knocked me out, but Stone Edge can miss, and everybody knows that. But at this point, I'm just going to go for safe EQ, because there's really nothing to risk, because it's a T-Tar and I have guaranteed damage. I'm actually going to go for a second EQ, because I want to get some more residual damage against the Ferrothorn and be able to revenge kill it. And I know Leech Seed to knock me out is the safest play, but like I said, I wanted damage against Ferrothorn, and should Leech Seed have missed, I would still have my Guard Chomp. So it was kind of a win-win. But Leech Seed's going to be able to knock me out, and at this point, I'm just going to bring in my Tornadus. I elect to go for Hurricane at this point, because I wanted to try to possibly get off a little bit more damage against the Tyranitar, or hit an incoming Mandibuzz, and either way Hurricane would be able to kill and Gyro Ball wouldn't knock me out. I would be risking a crit, but I thought Hurricane was my safest play, as my opponent's just going to elect to sack the Ferrothorn. I do hit the Hurricane, it wasn't really that big of a deal, but in comes Diancie, and this is where the threat comes out. Now, my opponent, if he's Rock Polish, the game is basically over, but as you can tell by the length of the video, it's probably not Rock Polish, as funny as it is. But at this point, Jirachi's dead to Hazards. Lopunny loses if it's Rock Polish Diancie, but if it's a Protect Diancie, Lopunny has to play Mind Games. Tornadus doesn't have Focus Blast, so it can't touch Diancie. Clefable has been weakened, and Manaphy has been weakened, but Manaphy can still take one hit, and I'm kind of banking on that. But I'm just going to go for the U-turn, expecting possibly a Moonblast or something along those lines, and I'm just going to sack my Jirachi just to see what my opponent does, as my opponent actually reveals the Protect here. Now, I think that was a bad play, just because if it was a possible Rock Polish or Calm Mind Diancie instead of Protect, revealing the Protect would have made me... I mean, I would have certainly accounted for Protect later on, but all this, it was just pretty much revealed that he's more than likely not going to be Calm Mind or Rock Polish. So it just means that the safe instinct was true, but all my opponent really did was reveal information that he didn't have to, because Mega Diancie still does not outspeed Tornadus T. But I'm just going to try to U-turn out on the Protect. I'm still going to U-turn out because, like I said, that was my original intention, and I'm just going to sack off my Jirachi just to see what my opponent does, as my opponent reveals the Ancient Power. Now, the reveal of the Ancient Power was nice, but it just means that I'm not playing a mixed Diancie. It just means that it's fully special. I just gotta be... like, you kind of knew Diancie was going to have a rock move, but it just means that this thing's potentially... well, it's safer, but it's not safer at the same time, because it means that Ancient Power Tornadus can take one, because it's only barely stronger than Moonblast, and it's not... what is it? Diamond Storm. It's not Diamond Storm. So Diamond Storm would have knocked out Tornadus. Ancient Power will not, but at the same time, should my opponent get an Ancient Power boost, the game is just over. So I'm just going to go into my Manaphy on the free switch, and I'm just going to be able to fire off a Scald, as I'm able to burn the incoming Mandibuzz. Now, this was great because it means that Foul Play is now weakened, and it's just chip damage against the Mandibuzz that I didn't have before. I'm going to go for a Calm Mind, expecting possibly either Roost or a Magnezone switch in, and I didn't want to Rain Dance because Calm Mind gives me the special defense drop. I'm just going to go for Scald, expecting a possible Whirlwind, and I'm able to get my Clefable. If I got my Clefable or my Lopunny, that would have been phenomenal. If I had gotten Tornadus, I probably would have had to account for Hurricane, or I would have switched straight into my Clefable. But either way, getting my Clefable was phenomenal, because I'm going to be able to soft boiled up on this Mandibuzz, as I just end up having to eat a knockoff, but I'd much rather take that trade. But at this point, Calm Mind is easily my safest play as my opponent goes straight into the Tyranitar. Now, because I saw Assault Vest, I already know this Tyranitar is more than likely fully offensive, but my Clefable has a lot of defense investment. It's the standard Calm spread with a lot of defense and enough special defense to live certain hits. But I already know Stone Edge won't be doing too much, and I'm going to be able to get off a Thunder Wave and then just play Thunder Wave shenanigans. Once I get up a couple of Calm Minds, this game is over. But I'm just going to go for the Thunder Wave as my opponent unfortunately crits me with Stone Edge. But it's not the end of the world because I'm going to be able to get off a Soft Boiled, and I'm just going to try to play around potential Paras and Stone Edge misses because, let's face it, especially when you throw Paralysis in, Stone Edge will miss. And based on that crit damage, normal damage would probably be about 48 to 50%. And the fact that I have Magic Art is nullifying any sand damage, even though I'm lacking leftovers. But Soft Boiled is definitely the play to make at this point. And I don't have... Sorry about that, I dropped something. But I don't have Flamethrower because I'm running Thunder Wave, and Magnezone is a fairly safe switch-in. But I'm not going to throw the game away over a useless prediction with Moonblast. I'm not going to sacrifice my win condition because as soon as the Magnezone is weakened, Clefable just destroys my opponent's team. But I'm just going to go straight for the Soft Boiled. Magnezone does come in, and at this point I had to make somewhat of a risky play. I feel my opponent was not in a position that he could predict. I thought the Flash Cannon was very obvious, and because my Manaphy is max HP, I believed that Manaphy would take only a fair amount of damage, and I knew he was more than likely Scarfed because the Volt Switch at the beginning against offensive Jirachi did an absolute crap ton. I probably should have calced it, realistically, even though I was pretty sure he was Scarfed. But that's just one of those. I was pretty sure he was Scarfed and I shouldn't be able to two-shot my Manaphy. But I do go straight into my Manaphy, more like somewhat as a middle ground, because Manaphy, I'm not going to be able to get 2 turns for free against anything on his team. And especially because he has the Magnezone and the Dragonite. Manaphy, it's nice, but it's my most expendable team member, especially for scouting purposes. As I do get the play right, the Flash Cannon comes in, as my opponent ends up getting an unfortunate special defense drop. I'm just going to switch into my Tornadus at this point because I was expecting a second Flash Cannon, but my opponent actually switches out into the Mandibuzz. I don't really understand that play. I mean, I somewhat understand. I think what was going through my opponent's head was if he two-shot Manaphy, I bring in my Lopunny, Mega Evolve for free, and start inflicting damage, and my opponent was trying to prevent that at all costs. But I'm going to get in my Tornadus as to what I thought was going to be a relatively safe switch, as now my opponent gets in the Diancie. Now, what I'm trying to prevent at this point is I don't want to have to deal with Protect versus High Jump Kick mind games. So I just need to get some damage against this Diancie to try to put him into Ice Punch range or Frustration range. They do about the same damage with Resisted Frustration versus Neutral Ice Punch. But what I was really trying to do was I wanted to get this Diancie into range where I didn't have to click High Jump Kick. So I'm just going to go straight for the Heat Wave. Oh no, that's later on. I U-turn out into my Manaphy's Death Fodder so I can get the free switch into my Lopunny, because at this point I was willing to play a little bit of shenanigans. I had no choice, but because I did want to get the Fake Out off. Now, I'm just going to run through a couple of options with you all just to say what was going through at this moment. 100% I click Fake Out here. If my opponent clicks Protect, it's a bad play, because Diancie normally outspeeds normal Lopunny. So if I click Fake Out, Diancie takes like 5 damage, and then it's a 50-50 of whether or not my opponent goes for Protect. It would more than likely be 100% Protect there, because my opponent has the advantage and he really doesn't have to predict all that much. But Fake Out 100% is my best play right now. What happens from there is a different story. My opponent does make the smart play by not protecting, as I am able to get off a little bit of chip damage with the Fake Out, which is what I wanted. Now, I know Diancie will not be knocked out at this point, and if I lose Lopunny, the game is over. So I'm going to switch out into my Tornadus on the possible Moonblast, because I feel, or the possible Protect, because I was not willing to make that play. And at this point, Tornadus is my least useful team member, as I'm just going to go for the Heat Wave because it has a higher chance of hitting than Hurricane. And as soon as I get that little bit of chip damage, now Diancie is in range for Lopunny to where I don't have to use High Jump Kick, which is what I really want. As my opponent's going to go for Moonblast, more than, I did see Ancient Power, and Ancient Power would not have knocked me out, but my opponent was more than likely expecting a U-turn into Lopunny on the possible Ancient Power, where then Lopunny would knock it out and game would be over. But I do live the Moonblast. I would have lived the Ancient Power. All I had to do was not get critted, and Tornadus was my least useful team member at the time. Now I'm just gonna end up rolling the dice and going for Hurricane. Now it does hit, but it's not a big deal with this one, because the truth is, if I hit Hurricane, Diancie went down, and then Dragonite comes in and E-speeds anyway. But if I miss, then I go into Lopunny, I click Frustration 100%, and then Diancie goes down, or something else comes in and everything on his team is knocked out with Frustration plus High Jump Kick, or in Dragonite's case, 2 Frustrations. But that was really what I was trying to do. So that Hurricane miss, it didn't matter in the slightest, but I figured if I can roll the dice and get rid of the Diancie now, it's only in my benefit. But I am able to connect. Hurricane is able to knock out the Diancie as Dragonite comes in, and it's going to be able to revenge kill me with extreme speed. Now, my only chance at this point is I have to bring in my Lopunny and live a hit from Dragonite and be able to knock him out with the Ice Punch. There's no reason, but, oh no, I remember what I did. I do apologize about making this wrong. I'm trying to go through my thought process, and I'm like skipping throughout the battle. But I'm going to go into my Clefable here, knowing I can take 2 extreme speeds, and I also bait the Magnezone in, because what I didn't want to happen is I didn't want my opponent critting me right now. It ends up not making a difference because the same result ends up being achieved, but I'm just going to go into my Clefable just to scare with the Moonblast or the possible Thunder Wave and double to my Lopunny, and at this point I click High Jump Kick 100%, as my opponent is going to sack the T-Tar, and the same result ends up being achieved, where now it comes down to, can I live extreme speed and knock out the Dragonite with Ice Punch? Because Magnezone is, even if it's a Scarf Magnezone, it's outsped by Mega Lopunny, and all I have to do is hit High Jump Kick. So my opponent could definitely still have the game, but what I'm really banking on, like I said, I have to hit a High Jump Kick, and I have to not get critted by extreme speed. But Dragonite's going to come out. I am able to live the extreme speed, and I'm going to be able to knock out the Dragonite with Ice Punch, and the game comes down to I have to hit a High Jump Kick, and that because if I miss the High Jump Kick, I knock myself out, and my opponent clicks Flash Cannon, 2-hit KOs Clefable, and the game is over because I don't have any Calm Mind boosts and I lack Flamethrower. But Magnezone's going to come in. I am able to hit the High Jump Kick, and that was a really good game to my opponent. I apologize about the narration being a little skippy. I'm trying to remember I was trying to remember, like, I know I had the game earlier today, and I apologize about the stuttering now, but I was trying to remember exactly what plays went through my head and to kind of give you guys a little bit of insight into my thought process. And kind of a funny moment, I tried to change Zen Headbutt on Jirachi, which I was running specifically for Keldeo, to Thunder Wave, because even though it's like Herp to Derp, Scarf, Thunder Wave, what are you doing? Jirachi is my revenge kill, or my check to DD Mega Altaria, but I did notice one thing, and that is if Zard X were to set up, outside of my Garchomp, who does have Endure, as funny as it is, or Clefable living a hit and getting off a Thunder Wave, Zard X is a problem. And worst case scenario, I do have that 50-50 Thunder Wave, plus it also gives me something for Mega Gyarados. Just being able to get off a Scarf Thunder Wave, sacking Jirachi in the process, and should the situation occur and we've all been here, something gets knocked off, in this case Jirachi, it gives me Thunderwave to play around with against a potentially slower team. So it does serve multi-purpose, and honestly, having Scarf lock in Ice Punch or Fire Punch, I found to be not as optimal, especially on a team like this where I do have most things covered. But I'm not really going to get into that. I've been rambling long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed the battle. Check out my other content. I do apologize that I haven't uploaded in the week, but I did get back from vacation. And if you guys enjoyed, leave a like. Check out my other content. I do have a Ruby randomizer Nuzlocke going on. I would hope that some people would be able to check that out, send it some support. But until next time, guys, I've been rambling on long enough. Enjoy your day, and see you later.